first one was the swearing in of the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Dr. Abdullahi Usman Bello. He was sworn in today as part of the Federal Executive Council deliberation. It was the first part. And in the second part, ministers, as usual, brought in council memos for deliberation. I'm going to take you all through that. But very importantly, there are very important decisions taken by the Federal Executive Council today concerning the realignment and renaming of some ministries. I recall that in his continuous desire to ensure that government is always being streamlined to bring about greater efficiency for the public good, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken yet a very thorough decision of reviewing some of the ministries as we have them today. And let me announce that the erstwhile Ministry of Niger Delta has now been renamed Ministry of Regional Development. Now, recall that apart from the Niger Delta, there are other regional bodies that have been set up by government and that have been also assented to by the National Assembly. So the President and members of Council today took a decision to rename that ministry so that all these other regional bodies will come under this new Ministry of Regional Development. In other words, the Northwest Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, and all those commissions and all those regional bodies set up by government are now being brought under the Ministry of Niger Delta. Ministry of Regional Development. Second, there is also the winding down of the Ministry of Sports Development. There is no longer, from today, the Ministry of Sports Development. All activities and programs of the Ministry of Sports Development are now being brought under the National Sports Commission. Number 3, the Ministry of Tourism has also been scrapped. Activities of that ministry are now being brought under the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Creative Economy. So that ministry will now be called Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Creative Economy. Now, this is in addition to some other announcements that will follow later in the day. Like I said earlier, a number of memos have been discussed. I will now bring in the ministers, beginning with the Honorable Minister of Works, who will take us through the memos that he has presented to Council for the benefit of all Nigerians. The Honorable Minister of Works.
Just a minute, permission from Honorable Minister of Information to clear a few things in a way of announcement before I will now read the memos, because there have been a lot of questions and seeking for information on a number of critical routes. I'm not going to go through all, but just to let the press know that the Shagamu-Ore, to Benin route that is undergoing a serious rehabilitation now. And beside that, we are also doing procurement, for the proper reconstruction using reinforced concrete pavement. And on the Abuja-Kano, which we inherited, Mr. President, indicated that he doesn't want tax credit. He's respecting the previous tax credit that we inherited from past administration, but we don't want to do tax credit again in his own administration. So the sections 1 and 3 that we earlier on earmarked for tax credit is now going to be procured. But FEC had earlier on approved the Beja section, which is 162 kilometers for 740 billion. Now we have not had it so good with Beja because we've been negotiating with them since September 2023. But yesterday we said this negotiation must come to a stop. And so we're giving them 7 days. If after 7 days they don't accept our offer, which is the highest so far in the country, then we have no any other option than to issue them 14 days termination notice in accordance with the contract laws. But let me announce that the President graciously approved that the entire stretch should be repaid, notwithstanding that we are going to do permanent construction. So within the next 2 weeks, you will be going through the entire road without any pothole. That is what we are doing. And the Sokoto Badagry, let me announce that Mr. President had directed immediate, starting of the construction of the Sokoto section, which we are going to flag off the construction tomorrow afternoon by 2 p.m. It's going to be live in some of the TV stations. And then KB, 11 a.m. on Friday. It's good to announce that. And again, a lot of issues on Oyo Bomosho. Let me say that some of these projects have lasted for 18 years. They're all inherited projects. So we are going to do repairs on Oyo Bomosho, and we are also doing a procurement process. The same thing, work is going on Makodi to 9th Mile, but we've directed for, some repairs procurement to, happen on that. Same with Kasinala, in Cross River and Makodi. So I just needed to say this, not also leaving Oduopani in Cross River and Akwa Ibom sections. So just a few. And so going to the memos that we got approval today, recall that when we took over, the president came on board, he inherited 2,604 projects, and with a contract sum of 13 trillions and a debt profile of 1.6 trillion. What Mr. President, did was to use the 2024 envelope of the Ministry of Works to bring all the projects, to make it, all of them alive. And that's what we did. And that's why we didn't have much of new projects other than maybe few constituency projects from the National Assembly. And so we have been able to manage, the projects as inherited. But there is no way we can cover the 2,604 projects, at the same time. So what FEC directed is to begin to rescope the projects and begin to phase the project in line with available, budgetary provisions. And that's what we did. And we did that in the construction of, Buo, Kangiwa, Kamba, Gaya, Niger Republic Road in Kebbi State. It was about 127 kilometers, but the fund available can effectively cater for 30 kilometers. So we have phased it into 2. First phase is 30 kilometers, which FEC approved today, and then the second phase is 97, and this will be procured when fund becomes available. It's the same thing with Yola Honk Mubi Road in Adamawa State. It was a total of about 176 kilometers. So what we are doing now is to do 58 kilometers within the limit of available funds, and then 127 kilometer will also be done in subsequent phases. And then we also have the Kachako Dambazua Road in Kano State. It was a total of 28.8 kilometers as awarded. And then what we have done now is to procure 5.6 kilometers phase 1 in line with money available, and then the 23.2 kilometer will be awarded next phase. So the beauty of this thing and the ingenuity of it is that these ones we are procuring and phasing will not suffer, a lot of inflation and fluctuations, due to a lot of dynamics in the construction materials. And finally, we presented a memo to FEC that where there is proof of funds, there is available funds. The Procurement Act allows MDAs to pay a maximum of 30% advance payment. And let me emphasize that this advance payment, when you read the law, it says may pay. And so when people are giving contracts and they don't mobilize and they say they have not been paid a mobilization, it is not legally binding because the word says may pay. And so some people turn it shall pay. So no, it's may pay. So where we have funds and we have available fund beyond this 30%. So what we are, we requested from FEC is approve that we first pay 30%, which is the Procurement Act, and not more. And then when the contractor has started work, and to the satisfaction of the Ministry of Works, we should be allowed to pay additional funds. Yes, the law allows us to pay in terms of materials on site, but we are asking beyond that. What is the essence of this? Is to mitigate a lot of fluctuation and inflation, because we have a lot of indices that affect the Ministry of Works, like the petroleum, it affects it. The dollar exchange rate also affects. So we are doing everything to manage the resources within the available funds so that we mitigate inflation. And so I will be seeking permission from the Honorable Minister and my colleagues here, and of course the press, to allow me to exit. If there may be questions, he is very capable, he can answer it, and so that I can travel to Sokoto to perform the assignments.
There have been approvals for some contracts, about 7 of them, for the Nigerian Custom Service. The next one is that there's an approval for an agreement for the elimination of double taxation with respect to taxes on income and prevention of tax evasion and avoidance between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. Like I said, we'll give you details of that later. The third one is that there's an approval to obtain a credit facility in a sum of 443,330,781.49 euros and another 141 million US dollars from a group of financiers for the procurement of 6 units of M346 fighter aircraft and ammunition for the Nigerian Air Force. Again, we'll provide those details to you later where necessary. And the last one from the Federal Ministry of Finance is the approval for signing of an agreement for the elimination of double taxation with respect to taxes on income and the prevention of tax evasion and avoidance between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Republic of Botswana. Now, the first one is, relating to the Hong Kong region, and this one is the Republic of Botswana. So there's a difference, similarity, but there are 2 different agreements, just to bring you to speed on that.
Today at the Federal Executive Council, the President has given a charge through the Minister of Information on CNG. We are well aware that the President set up a presidential committee on the CNG to drive the CNG project. As the Minister, we have been supervising what has been going on there, and it is left for us to inform the general public that CNG has come to stay, and we have to follow that route because CNG is safe, cheaper, and protect the environment. So today the President has talked about ensuring that most of the filling stations across the country are converted into CNG stations where you have the conversion kits so that people can convert their vehicle to CNG. And of course, it is important to note that when you are using CNG, you save a lot of money. The fuel, a liter of fuel that can go for 1,000 naira, with CNG, you get it at 200 naira, which saves you 800 naira. And I believe with the passion of Mr. President, the push that he has given to us, we'll try as much as possible to drive the CNG program to reach all the nooks and crannies of this country so that we will take advantage of the natural resources, gas that God has endowed us. So we solicit for the cooperation of the press to preach this gospel and encourage people to embrace CNG. Thank you very much.
Is about 1,000 plus or minus. And CNG of that equivalent will be about 200 naira. So what the President and Council are saying is that there is the need for further enlightenment of the Nigerian public to know the advantages of using the CNG, not just because it is cheaper, but because it also marks our own transition from the fossil fuels to cleaner energy that the world is moving towards. This is part of the deliberations at Council. Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Today we sought for approval from the Federal Executive Council for the creation of a Creative Economy Development Fund. This is a special purpose vehicle that will allow members within the creative economy to have access to funding and also use their IP as collateral in terms of monetization. We identified very early on that the very basic structures in order for us to really tap into the potential of the creative economy was missing. So we got to work in putting up those structures. IP policy is one of those very basic structures that was missing. We are working together with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and with the Ministry of Justice to ensure that we deliver IP policy, hopefully within maximum, within at the very last phase, within the next 2 weeks. So that IP will allow creatives to use it to get collateral, to get access to funding. And again, one of the things that we identified was that members of the community, the creative community, cultural and creative community, have absolutely no access to funding. So this is a special purpose vehicle that will give them funding, that will be able to allow us to leverage funding that we're getting. We already have commitment, for example, from a FEC bank that has committed to giving us $200 million and a number of other sources. So this is a special purpose vehicle that will allow us to give this funding to members within the community, and hopefully we'll be able to really tap into the potential and reach our targets of economic expansion, creative expansion, cultural expansion, of course, job creation specifically for a younger demographic. Thank you.
Become necessary to give further clarification on the issue of the rate designation of the Ministry of Niger Delta as measured by the Minister of Information, so that people over there will not go further to misconstrue what has been done. First, by its name and its nomenclature, Niger Delta is just within the 9 states of that region. Today, you are all aware that a number of regional development commissions like Northwest Development Commission, Northeast, Southeast, and some other that are coming up are already in place. And there must be a ministry that will supervise all these agencies. And in order to do that, today, Mr. President and the FEC decided that all these commissions that have been created and signed by the National Assembly will be brought under the supervision of the SY Ministry of Niger Delta, which is now redesignated as the Ministry of Regional Development. For our people over there in the Niger Delta region, I would like them to know that that has not removed anything from them. The NDDC is still very much in place, which is still under the Ministry of Regional Development, and all other such agencies are there. It's just a question of change of nomenclature. That is what has been done. And I wouldn't want anybody in that region to begin to feel that the Ministry of Niger Delta has been scrapped and is no more in existence. All the structures and everything about the Niger Delta remains. It's just a change of nomenclature and, of course, expansion of activities of the ministry. So I think it's something worth to be commended, the vision and the foresight of Mr. President. So I think it's very important we make this known to you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let me say that today we brought a memo on behalf of the PTDF, which is the Petroleum Technology Development Fund, that had initiated a program called the PTDF STEM Fund. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Some time ago, the PTDF, which is the creation of law, with the mandate to build the capacity, of Nigerians in oil and, gas industry, came up with a program called PTDF Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Program. They sought to obtain presidential approval, and today we brought a memo to council to be able to print 1 million science textbooks. The science courses, that they identified that Nigerians have deficiency. Physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, computer science, they just believe that for us to match up with the rest of the world, we needed to build a capacity at the secondary school level. And this program is meant to print 1 million textbooks, science textbooks, that will be distributed to all the local government, 774 local government areas in the country, and also to support the 104 unity schools that we have in the country, and then 122 special schools, secondary schools that we have in the country. This memo was brought before council, and it was approved by council. Essentially, what is important is that this is to support and build capacity at the secondary school level. For you to, to match up with the rest of the world in terms of technological and engineering development, you need to lay a very solid foundation. And some time ago, as part of the mandate, they found out that we're lagging behind. And so they decided that, look, they were going to build both physical and digital libraries. We brought a memo a few weeks ago, and that was approved by council, for PTDF to build, digital, and physical libraries in about 1,000 secondary schools in the country. This is to complement that effort of the PTDF that had the mandate to build capacity in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
I go on to this activity that took place in the Federal Executive Council meeting of today. Let me inform that if you could recall, on the 23rd of September 2024, the Federal Executive Council constituted a committee, a technical committee, to assess dams across the country. And membership of that committee were Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Minister of Information, Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget and National Economy, Minister of Environment, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, the National Security Advisor. So this committee was inaugurated on the 2nd of October, and a subcommittee was being constituted. At the moment, the committee is moving around. We want to appeal with the press to support this committee, because at the moment now, the committee has been constituted into two teams, Team A and Team B. The Team A is now in Bauchi State. They were in Plateau State yesterday. They're in Bauchi now. They'll be moving to Gombe State. From Gombe State, they will proceed to Adamawa State. While the Team B moved to Delta State. Today, they are in Enugu State. They will be moving to Cross River. So that is how they are moving around. And by the grace of God, we are going to cover about 36 critical dams in the country before we go on to the second phase of the dams, where the reports can now be generated for Nigerians and briefing will be given out. In today's Federal Executive Council meeting, FEC has approved the award of contract for the construction of Greater Dutse Water Supply Project in Jigawa State. And this is aimed at serving about 1.5 million people of Jigawa State. And this project will be powered using solar energy. Using solar energy, what is aimed is at reducing that emission of carbon dioxide. As we all know, this is a key factor in bringing about climate change. So with the introduction of solar energy, empowering this system, that can be eradicated, and as well, it will reduce the menace of flooding within that particular vicinity. That's not all. Again, the Federal Executive Council also approved the award of contract for the rehabilitation of Bruku Boko Water Supply Project in Benue State. Here also, this will also be powered by solar energy. This is envisaged as serving about 506,000 residents within the Amaladu axis that will span to Boko, Ushongu, and other parts of Bruku local government. So those are the activities that are marked in the Federal Executive Council today under the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation. Thank you.
Three of you have talked about realignment and what happens to the ministers in charge of those ministries. Let me say this at this point, that the Federal Executive Council has taken this very critical decision of realigning, of doing some realignments concerning at least three ministries. The first one is the Ministry of Niger Delta, which has been expanded now, like the Honorable Minister has said. It is now going to become the Ministry of Regional Development. And it was very important that he put it out there that it is not as if the functions of the Ministry of Niger Delta have been scrapped or been taken away. I think, if anything, the ministry itself has been expanded to accommodate other regional bodies or regional commissions, like the Northeast Development Commission, the Northwest Development Commission, the Southeast Development, and commissions like that. So it's an expansion. What the Federal Executive Council has seen is the need to bring this development closer to this, to the people, closer to their regions. And so there's now an integration of the function of all these commissions under the supervision of the new Ministry of Regional Development. I think it is clear, and it was good that he also mentioned that. Second, there is also the issue of the Ministry of Sports Development. I can tell you that Council has taken a decision to scrap that ministry. There is no longer going to be Ministry of Sports Development for now. Now, the functions of that, of what the Ministry of Sports Development is doing, is now going to be taken by the National Sports Commission. Now, there was a question as to whether who that report to. Now, the detailing of the transition and what happens after will be provided to you again in due course. But certainly the Ministry of Sports Development has been taken out. The Ministry of Tourism, again, there is not going to be anything called the Ministry of Tourism going forward. Recall that this Ministry of Tourism was actually together with the Ministry of Culture and Information in the past. Now, various administrations have had ways of rebranding or rechristening or renaming these ministries. So what is happening now is that the Federal Executive Council has taken a decision to take that Ministry of Tourism out and the functions of that ministry be transferred to a new ministry called the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Creative Economy. Now, to your next question as to what happens to those ministers. Now, let me say that this is now the first step of the announcement that you have seen. And let us wait for further information that is going to come from government going forward. Of course, if you don't have a ministry, there can be a minister there. But what I can say is that the decision of whether a minister remains in government or not is entirely the president's. It is the president's prerogative to appoint the minister. And I want you to note that ministers are appointed as ministers of the government of Nigeria. No minister is appointed to a portfolio. It is an assignment now. After you have been nominated, you have been cleared by the Senate. Now the president will now assign you the portfolio that he thinks you will function best. Now, it is within the president's prerogative to look at that as we march on to see whether there should be some form of realignment. And whether you are a minister or not a minister is the president's prerogative. And so I will rather ask you, gentlemen of the press, to await further information as we move on. And the speculation, I want you to limit the speculation of who goes and who remains and where they are at this point. Consistent with my policy, you say what you know. Thank you very much.
Clarify the fact that it got to my knowledge yesterday that we are having long queues along Airport Road at the NIPCO. And that project is private driven with NNPC. So I've written a letter to EVP Gas to come and explain why we are having that long queues. And of course, when I was commissioning the CNG project at those stations, we were supposed to have about 12, which means they should be functional. And so with this further questioning on it, I can assure you after today's meeting with the NNPC, EVP Gas, we'll be able to address it. On the availability of gas, there is availability of gas. It may be lack of the infrastructure that we mentioned. And like the president said today, we have to try as much as possible to provide infrastructure for the delivery of gas that will go beyond. What we produce in our country is more than enough for us to use as the CNG. And of course, you know, we are exporting to so many other countries. So bear it with us, and I'm going to address it and give you the feedback as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. On affordability, it is not produced in our country, Nigeria, we export it. You recall when GSM came in newly, it is imported. Yeah, when GSM came in newly, the cost of buying the SIM cards was very high. But as it goes in, you can afford it at a very lower rate. So I believe the more we have private investors coming in to take advantage of this CNG project, the price would drastically come down. For now, that is the price because it is imported. And we are still negotiating on even producing those kits in our country, Nigeria, which means the price will drastically come down when we get to that level.
Bow for those good questions. The first one is on the flooding along the Dura axis. The Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation has awarded contract for the study and design of Dora Dam. Okay. That dam, when constructed, will solve the issue of flooding along that axis. And on the issue of the route, I sent my people to that particular area where it was affected. And on the issue of the route, we are discussing with the Minister of Works, and steps have been taken to alleviate the challenges along Makurdi-Kasnala Road. The second question is on the Presidential Committee of Flood Mitigation in Nigeria. Yes, the committee met, did their findings, and the report was submitted to Mr. President. And one of the recommendations was that money should be given to states to intervene in their various arena. And 3 billion was released to states to mitigate flooding in their various states, and that is ongoing. Adano, who was heading the technical committee, is also a member of this subcommittee, and they are moving around the country on one of the recommendations of that particular report. And it's a step in solving the flooding situation in Nigeria. Thank you.